What's up, guys? I'm Doofus Mcdooface, and this is my Tier 1 tier list of Legion TD2 units. My plan is to make a whole series, so I'll do Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4, Tier 5, Tier 6, and then maybe I'll choose from all the S tier units my favorites or something like that. But for today's video, this is Tier 1s. Without further ado, let's just get into it. Bones. So we've got the Fire Archer. I'm going to talk about the upgrades too, right? I think the best way for me to attack this is just unit by unit, right? Like I'm not gonna have the Fire Archer, the Devilfish, the Seraphin. I will of course count that in like my mental ranking, but I think for the best possible, we're just gonna do like you're doing a roll, right? When you're doing a roll, you say, hey, I'm taking Bone because of this, right? I'm taking Consort because of this. So Bone Warrior, we've got Dark Mage, Fire Archer, Bone Crusher. Very strong unit. I think I have pretty good win rate with most of them, specifically like Bone Crusher Open. I'm even gonna pull stats for this video. If I find Bone Warrior, 66% when I start. Bone Crusher is at 42, so it's actually pretty bad for me, but I still like my bones. I still like my bones quite a bit. Gotta love the boners. I'm gonna put them at A. I think the Dark Mage, the Bone Crusher Open, the Bone Crusher and Fire Archer start. There's nothing wrong with it, right? And the biggest issue with most T1s is that they fall off, right? That most T1s fall off. There's nothing you can really do with them. But in the case of Bones, you've got the Dark Mage for the late game. So I'm going to put it at A tier. I think it's really solid there at the A tier. I don't quite think it's an S tier. Probably because I just saw my win rate with Bone Crusher. But I do like it. Buzz, Consort. Now, I'm a Fiesta player, right? So, I should love Buzzes. But I feel as though, Buzzes are good in the mid, the early game. And then the mid game, late game, they're, worthless. Or I feel like the Bones and some of these other units are going to have that beat. So I feel like if there's no mid to late game usage, it can't be higher than a B for me, right? I love my Buzzes. I love my Consorts for Fiesta, right? Specifically when you're placing a bunch of Buzzes and Consorts, and then you get sent a Mimic on 7, and you snipe that Mimic because of the consort spell, right? So I do like them for that reason. But late game, if you have 20 consorts, you get witched, and you're just that's what happens to me, right? Because I'm the tier 1 master. I love placing too many tier 1s. And so yeah, I just get cooked. I get absolutely cooked from witches because I have too many consorts. Still a good unit. Still a good Fiesta unit. Let's actually pull up the stats, right? We're going to keep it up with the stats. Consort is a 60.9% win rate for me. See, that almost makes me want to switch it up, right? That almost makes me want to be like, whoa, maybe this is a great unit. But I still feel really, really confident that Buzz Consort to be a high B. But I would not have it in the A or S tier. Because if I didn't play Fiesta, it would only be average, right? I would use it for Green Devil and Buzz, Potence and Buzzes. But it's not like a wow, I've got Buzz, unless I'm Fiesta. Am I really excited about it? So I'm gonna keep it with the B, just because I'm having an open mind. Oathbreaker. I just saw that on my stats. Pretty good right there. Really high win rate. One of my highest win rates around. It looks like. Yeah, wow. Chain Fist, Oathbreaker. It's my second highest win rate. Wow, whirly bird. Let's not skip ahead. But yeah, Oathbreaker's killing it. And I think now that it can't leak to a Snail Wave 1, I'm going to put in the A tier. And let me just disclaimer. I've only used the upgraded version, the final form Oathbreaker, a couple of times. But it seems strong, right? And it's awesome, right? It's awesome to be one of the the few tier 1s that has a triple upgrade, right? Or a second upgrade, I guess. But 3 different units, right? So yeah, I think Oathbreaker's in a great spot. Like, you always think of like Nightmare Oathbreaker. Just starting an Oathbreaker 5 workers, and now that it can't leak to a snail, like, you're looking good there. You're looking really good with Oathbreakers. It's just a good fortified unit. And now with the upgrade, like, I guess you could get away with not having Samurai, not having Mudman, not having Boar, not having Bunk, right? Like, that could theoretically, because of the final form upgrade, be your only fortified unit. So that could make your rolls a lot easier to do. Yeah. And as you can see by my win rate, I seem to like him too. Nobody has a problem with the Smurf Breaker. And I sure don't either. Alright. Now this is a controversial one, especially since we just saw my win rate with the Goblins, with the Whirly Bird, is so high. I mean, that is impressive. 71%, 66%, 5-1 when I open the Whirly Bird. I'm going to break some hearts. And I'm going to make other people happy. As good as it seems statistically, I can only put it at a B for me. Because what people who are against this unit or don't think it's that good, they kind of have a point. It is amazing in the early game, which as a tier 1 should be, right? Like, as I said, consort, right? It's amazing early, so maybe we have it above the buzz. Perfect for Fiesta. I love it with Fiesta right now. That's where most of those Whirlybird games were. You go 5 worker, or you go Whirlybird into 6 workers. Don't build on 2. You Fiesta a little bit, and then if you get snailed, you Fiesta like a little bit more than a little bit. But it's really not a bad Fiesta, right? You've got lots of workers. You're not that weak on 3. You're terrible wave 4, right? The one thing to say with copters, goblins, you need something for wave 4, 7, 8, right? You need those piercing waves. You cannot rely on whirlybirds. They're awful. Awful. But in saying that, it's still a good early unit. It's been fun to play with. But like that mid game, like it's just it's sort of like this list, I can already tell you how it's gonna go, right? Like, I can already tell you that the units that have upgrades are gonna be S or A tier, and the units that don't have upgrades are gonna be lower tier. That's just the truth of the matter for me, right? Like, I'm just gonna tell you how it is. I'm looking, I'm doing my mind. Without any upgrade, Whirlybird, it's good, solid win rate, but it's not a unit you can build around, right? It's a good unit to start with, and then you need something else. That's good. All right, let's get into the looters, the pack rats. Another just super controversial one. Higher elo might have this higher. Right? They might have it S tier, they might have it A tier. Do I go C, man? Like, rats are they're just so hard to use. It's just like rats, you need to be like a genius. You need to be like a chess genius to use rats. So for people that don't know, and maybe you haven't played with rats before, looter costs 10 gold, and then the pack rat is 65 gold. And the pack rat, the upgraded one, you can hunt it. What does that mean? That means that it will not be on your board during that wave, but you'll get 11 or 12 mythium. I can pull it up really quick. 11 or 12 I believe it's 12. But let me just clarify here. 11. Okay, so they dropped it down to 11 mythium. Yeah, so you get 11 mythium for hunting. Seems great, right? It seems great. In the early game, it's amazing because it's worth more than a worker, right? So not only do you get to keep that unit and have it as value later on, you're getting pretty much more mythium than is generated by a worker in the early game, right? In the early game. So you could just like start 2 rats, like a lot of people would do Oathbreaker and then 2 rats, right? And you're just generating so much mythium. You don't have a lot of workers. The problem is it becomes a guessing game, right? And for me, someone who streams and is always terrified of snails and things of that nature, it's really hard to know when you're hunting correctly and when you're hunting incorrectly, right? Because what you have to do is you have to know when you're receiving a send. Like, that's just all there is to it, right? Because if you do not hunt and they don't send and you're, let's say, 50 over, you're pretty much, you lose 11 Mythium, right? You lose it. But then on the other side, if you hunt when they do send nasty, right, and you leak 60, 70% and you would have held with the pack rat, well, that Mythium is, 11 Mythium is not worth losing 50 gold, 30 gold, 40 gold, right? Something crazy like that. So it's really, it's a guessing unit, and I'm gonna put it in the C because it's for chess players, right? Do I even have it up here on my stats? Like, look at how low it is. Well, 55% is not bad. It's not terrible, right? 55% is decent. But I just don't love it. I just don't love the unit. It's a good one. Sometimes I'll take it, but I just like workers more. Especially, for example, I'm a big time Fiesta player, right? And I'm expecting those waves to be longer. So the longer the wave, the less Mythium, or the less beneficial that 11 Mythium is. Just to explain that real quick, if you don't understand what I'm saying. If the wave takes 20 seconds and you're generating 1 Mythium or 10 Mythium every 30 seconds, right? And you only generated like 6 Mythium that wave. Now I'm just making up numbers here. For example, though, if then that wave took 50 seconds because you fiested, right? Then you would generate 12 Mythium with those workers, right? Which would be more than a rat. So, like, there's a difference with rat players. You sort of want those quick waves, quick wave. And then Fiesta players sort of want long waves to generate more Mythium. So that's why I'm just not a huge fan of rats. And always get punished. Mask. Bam. S tier. No doubt about it. Like, I'm going to have 2 S tier units. I won't say the other one. But it's Mask is up there. Right? Hellraisers are amazing. They're pretty much good the entire game. Just like Pota Mask. Right? Flying Mask with Leviathan Mask. Flower Mask. Right? Like, I can just keep thinking of combinations that, like, this unit is just so good. It's just so good. Right? And why is it so good? Well, the placement, right? It's a really cool delay in the split. Like, if you're real professional, you can throw them in the split, and they just take forever. You can go wop, 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 and they take forever, right? I like doing that sometimes. If you're like in an epic king race and you just need to waste time. Or more importantly, the Hellraiser is just so much damage. Once again, it does have that sort of guessing, a little bit of the guessing like rats, because you're hoping that they're going to send in tantrum waves. But what it can also do is just control how your opponents play, right? Like, if I create the Hellraiser on wave 6, it's going to be hard for my opponents to send wave 7. So let's say I had a Sakura or a Pota, and that gives me another wave to sort of start to scale even more, right? Because nobody really wants to send into a tantrum Hellraiser. Once again, just to explain what is a tantrum Hellraiser. Tantrum, every other wave, right? So you build it, right? You build it wave 6, it doesn't have it. Then wave 7, it has this buff. 20% attack. It attacks 20% faster. Which is monster. I mean, it's a lot. Like, imagine any of your units had a 20% buff every other wave, right? Like, it's not a Legion spell. It's not because of an APS or a Leviathan. It's just that's how the unit works. Every other wave, it kicks ass. And yeah, like wave 19, wave 14, wave 17, wave 16. There's just so many good waves for the unit. Even on like a wave 20, if you kite the boss correctly and you have enough Hellraisers, you could snipe, because it's random, right? The mass shots are a little random. It just shoots out 3 little shots or whatever. It's possible that you could snipe a shaman, right? You could snipe the back line with masks. Just so good. So good. Peewee, there's not much to talk about with Peewee, right? It's average. It's not very good. I think if I've seen it correctly, it is the lowest tier 1 by high level players. I believe Drakir has something like that. 53%, 50 when I started. I believe it had the lowest win rate. I could be wrong, could be taking that out of my ass. It's an okay arcane tank. Like, if this is the only arcane tank you've got, you're feeling okay, but you're definitely not feeling great, right? It does have that stim ability, which sort of with the Hellraisers, sort of with the Rats, you're guessing, right? It's a guessing game. The Veteran Stim Pack, you spend 20 gold to increase its attack speed by 125 and make range 500, or spend 5 gold and it does the same on Peewee. Right? It's just kind of a crappy unit. It's a great Fiesta on wave 1. It's a great Fiesta on wave 1, and then the rest of the game it's just like wasted value. I'm just not a big salesman of the Peewee. Like, it's funny, right? Because you can be like, oh, he leaked my Peewee, or some jokes like that, you know. But they get shredded by mimics. They get shredded by centaurs. So they're just really not that good. I don't want to say like the whole game they're not good, but like if there was a unit that I was gonna pick out of these, actually, you know what? You're right. If there was a unit that I was gonna pick that needs a buff, it's Peewees. They're just weak. They're just weak, right? Like, at least this has the hunt ability. This has the really cool after kill. This is amazing, and this is just cool in the mid game or in the early game. It's really strong. This fly is about as bad as Peewee's. It's annoying. But yeah, Peewee's, the stim pack ability just costs too much gold, right? It costs 20 gold, which is the same. Oh man, dude, I don't want to get like statistical here, but you guys want to hear this? I mean, if you're still watching this late in the video, you want to hear it. The Peewee, right? Or sorry, the veteran upgrade is 20 gold to increase a tier 1's attack speed by 125%, right? And increases its range. Now, if I can find it. An orchid shuriken, right? You can spend 20 gold on a tier 3 unit. I would like to know what does way more damage. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be the orchid shurikens, right? Those are both 20 gold. Is that like comparable 20 gold? I don't think so, right? I kind of just like walked that through in my mind. I just opened some things. And that is why I almost never stim Peewees. I never stim Peewees. I never stim vets. I try to avoid it. It's just not cost efficient in my mind for an average unit. All right. Devilfish, Seraphim, Poliwag. I would put it like C or B. Pretty decent opener. Like, if you have like Archer Poly or something like that. It's an average Fiesta. Once again, I'm a big Fiesta player. Average Fiesta if you go like Seraphim and 2 Polys. It's okay-ish. It's good. It's good in the start of the game as long as you don't get DT'd, right? As long as you don't get DT'd, it's pretty strong. But it's just another average tier 1. Like, once again, the coolest thing about it is that you can switch it from like a ranged magic damage to like a swift tank, right? Of the Devilfish. You can go Devilfish if you want the tankage and a little bit of damage, or you can go Seraphin if you want like the damage and the more of a range. So like if you're really good at splitting stuff, you can have your Seraphim tank like 40% of the wave. Wave 3 is always going to be the best waves for Seraphims, right? Yeah, I mean you could have a Seraphim with a couple of polys almost full hold wave 3. Whereas if you go Devilfish and a couple of polys, you're gonna leak a little bit, right? So at least counterbalancing like when to use which one is kind of cool. Wave 5, Seraphim really good. Devilfish, wave 6, amazing tank. So it does have early waves. Also very easily mimicable. It's like your average tier 1, right? Like you have the cooler tier 1s with these awesome upgrades. Like you got 3 upgrades for those big dogs. You got the cool after death effect, hunting effect, and then you got kind of boring, right? Kind of boring average magic damage, right? Some games, I don't think it happens much anymore, but I remember being really upset when I first started playing. And I had one game where my role, I was probably greed at the time. My role had 1 magic unit, and it was Polywog. And so, like, what do you want me to do? Spam 30 seraphims on 15? I mean, that's probably what I had to try, but like, or reroll. Like, come on, like, the only magic unit you're giving me is a 15 gold tier 1. Kind of irritating. But, average, C, eh. Proton. I think we're gonna go B with the Protons. Protons, atoms, no weak waves. You know, everybody says that because they're the pure immaterial, right? Yeah, pure damage, immaterial defense, which means that they take the same amount of damage, they do the same amount of damage, regardless of the wave of the game. Got a cool little triangle here thing, man. That's kind of cool. But yeah, they're good, right? They're good Fiesta openers. Are mimicable on 7. Moles are really painful to them. They do have synergy with steeds, right? Synergy, always great. When I say that, now I think that it should be higher. Because this is a synergy-based unit. Let's go to the statisticals. Seraphin, wow, Seraphin was actually pretty high. But once again, it's just because of Fiesta. What am I looking for? I'm looking for protons and atoms. Atom at 48%. Oof. Proton at 43%. So, man, okay, let's keep it at B. Yeah, we're gonna keep that at B based on statisticals. But I like atoms, right? I've done like tier 1 only challenge with it, where you just only build that. I've actually done it with atoms, masks, and consorts. And Adam did pretty well. Adam did pretty well. Mask did pretty well. Let's not get too far off the case. They're just a solid unit, solid all-around unit, and I think because of the synergy, they're worthy of the B rank. They're gonna be better on waves with fewer creeps, right, than more creeps. Maybe I can explain that a little better. Like a wave like 6, atoms are really strong, right? But a wave 7, where there's so many little creeps, they're not as good. Why is that? I can't really explain that to you. It's just how my brain sees it. That's why, like, whenever like I would do a tier 1 challenge with atoms, if they send wave 12 or wave 16, I'm going to get cooked. I'm going to leak everything, as I have. But I still like atoms. They're still fun to play with. Yeah. Seedling, Sakura, put her at the top. There's nothing need to be said. End of video. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, yeah, Sakura, 69% win rate, dude. Like, come on. Like, seriously? Like, seriously, Sakura? Are we even surprised? Are we even surprised that Sakura has one of my highest win rates? It's just such an amazing unit. And I'm not even talking about Fiesta. I'm focusing right now on Sakura because, like, when I see Seedling and I'm not Fiesta, 99% of the time I want to play Sakura, right? Why is Sakura so good? She gains value whenever you hold, right? So if you want to play overbuildy or you want to push, like, you can play either strat. And my favorite thing when I'm playing higher level games, right, the higher elo, tougher players, they kind of have to send you on certain waves, right? Like, you're gonna get a send on wave 7, unless they're just trying to give you a free Sakura. In which case, they give you a free Sakura, you should win that game, right? So it forces high-level players to have to play you differently. That's got to be the best unit in the game when you have certain combos like that. Except this isn't a combo. This is one single unit, right? This is just a one unit that forces you to play a certain way. And that's just what's amazing. That's just what's awesome. And then there's Pixie Fiesta, right? Let's see, do I have Pixies on my... So I guess Pixies aren't as high a win rate. Unless I'm blind. Yeah, 38. Oof. Okay, so Pixie Fiesta not as good. Definitely not this season. I've sucked with it when I open it. But it's so fun, right? When you get Pixie Fiesta, it's amazing. They've had to nerf it so many times, so it makes sense why my win rate has dropped. It used to give you way more Mythium. Whenever they die, you'd get like 10 Mythium or something like that, or 8 Mythium. Now it's like, what, 5? I believe it's 5 Mythium. I'm stupid. Yeah, 5 Mythium. And I want to say that it was 10 and then 8. So they've dropped it like drastically and made it stronger. So that Pixie is like a damage unit, but it's no damage, right? So they have killed that unit, but luckily the Sakura is fine. She's my favorite unit to play with, right? I would even put her above Pota because once again, it literally makes them play you a certain way, and also you can go for a second Sakura in the mid game and get double the stacks, right? I don't think it says it here. But in the mid game, yeah, doubled starting wave 11. So let's say you're playing a flawless game with these Sakuras. Add a second one, and you create even more value wave 11. I've lost to some high level players that went for 3 Sakuras before, and you just can't leak them, right? Like they have castle every wave because of the Sakuras, right? Do they have weak wave? 7, 14, maybe 17, 19. But if you have pierce damage for those waves, I mean, you're just cooking. How about we put Seedling and Mask together, and we're just flying away to a W. This should be W, not S, because you're gonna win with that combo. But I hope you guys enjoyed my attempt at a tier list. Let me know if you guys are excited to see the future tiers. If not, just let me know, right? If I rambled on too much, just any comment helps, whether it's good, bad, or sad. But I'm Doofus Mcdooface. This is my tier 1 tier list for Legion TD2 units, and I'll catch you on the next video, guys.